the basics of editing. So we've got a timeline at the bottom. That's where all of our media is going to be put for us to make all of the changes we want, and we can line everything up there. Up here is our media browser. That's where all of our media is stored. So that will include any audio, any photos, or graphics, any video clips, anything like that. Also where our projects are stored, so we can have multiple projects within an event at a time. So to get our media from our media browser into our timeline, we can simply select. We can either single click and that will highlight the whole thing, or we can click and drag and that will highlight a section of it. And then we just select that and drag it down here. If I put a video above a video on the timeline, what does that mean?
Like it will show that one instead of that.
Yeah, it will show the top one. So the reason we might do that sometimes is you might decide that you want to change the opacity and make something slightly see-through. It's
Like
a good way of doing the
together.
transition, that kind of thing, yeah. Or putting two next to each other, yeah, absolutely. So we'll do a couple of those things first, because that's an easy place to start. So the first thing I like to do is, if I'm making a transition, maybe I want this top video to fade out at the end and reveal what's underneath it.
Yeah.
The way I do that is I right click and go to show video animation, and then there's an opacity option here. If we zoom out, then you can see the actual name of it. It will say composite or compositing opacity. And I can take this tiny little icon at the end and drag it, and that will give me a clean, smooth fade. So once that renders, which should only take a second, there we go. If we watch that, so you see how that fades from one to the next, and that's a way to do it really smooth without having to use any of the actual transition effects over there. So that's one way. The other good thing about this is you can actually do it using keyframes as much as you want. So if you hold Alt and click along, you can add keyframes, and you can then change it in between those. So you can say, I want it to be 100% here, go down to 50.5% there, and then you could say, add another keyframe and say you wanted it to go back up. So that's the reason I like to do it in that way. So that's opacity. If we were looking to have these two clips side by side in this frame, which is a very uncommon thing, but sometimes you might do picture in picture. So for example, the video that we're making now, this tutorial, you'll have picture in picture. Either this video will be on top of this video or the other way around. So I'll show you how we can do that. So the first thing we do is select whichever video we want to change the size of. It could be both, or it could just be one of them. And we can go up to here and search transform. It will give us these blue dots all around the edge. If you click from the edge, you can drag it in, and then you can move it to where you want it to go.
It's kind of like Premiere Pro.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's just placing. It's very similar. Another thing we could do is, if we have a look again at that video animation, there's a transform option, and again you can set keyframes to tell it to move from one place to the next. So wherever you set a keyframe, it will stay there. Then you set the next keyframe, move it to where you want it to go, and it will make that movement in between. It's quite straightforward thing to do. So that's how we would do picture in picture. Sometimes you might also decide you want to crop part of it, so you can select the crop tool there, and you can just bring it in there. So, I mean, obviously that doesn't look great, but just so that you know, that's something that can be done. In terms of changing the lengths of our clips, all we need to do is go to the edge here, and you can see we've got a roll tool that shows that. You can also go in here and select trim there to do it, but it's just easy. You don't have to change your cursor that way, and you can either stretch it out or shorten it. You see, if we stretch it out to the full length, then we get a red line that tells us we can't go any further. So you could do that anywhere along the timeline to shorten or lengthen all of your clips. You can do it from either side as well. So that is one way to stretch them out. The other way is to use the blade tool. You can find the blade tool in here, or you can press B, it tells you that you can do that there. We press B, we can click anywhere along a clip and it will slice it wherever we click. If we press A, it brings our arrow tool back up, or again you can select it in there, and we can select those clips then and delete them out, whichever parts we don't want. So that is another option. Okay, over on the right here we have our effects browsers. So there are tons of different options in here. The first is actual effects, so that's video effects and filters, and there's also audio effects down there. So if you recorded audio and you wanted it to sound like a radio, or you wanted it to sound like underwater or something like that, there are options. In terms of video effects, these are what are more commonly referred to as filters nowadays. You can preview them by hovering over them, and it will show you the current clip that you've got selected. It will show you a preview of that. If you want to actually add it, you can select it. So we'll go with this bokeh one, for example. Drag it on top of the video clip you want to add it to, and you can see now that's added there. If we want to change the variables of that, we can have a look up here. You can change the shape of the particles, you can change the way that they blend, you can change the size of the particles, the number of them. Pattern is quite a good one because you never really want the same thing to keep happening over and over. So if you change the pattern, it just varies it slightly, so across different shots. Change the speed of it, but all of these different effects will have different variables up here. Some of them will have a lot, and some of them will only have one or two. So you have to bear that in mind when you're adding those effects. If you wanted to copy the exact same effect, so for example, if I wanted to make this clip black and white, I would drag black and white on it. I would have a look over here in my effects and see, I would set it to how much I want it with those variables. But then maybe I want that to be the exact same black and white on other clips. There's an easy way to do it. The way to do that is to go to Edit, Copy, make sure you've got the clip selected, Edit, Copy, and then select what the clips that you want to paste it onto, and you can go to Edit, Paste Attributes, and in there you can select specific things. So I can say I want it to have black and white, but I don't want it to have that bokeh, and paste. And now if we have a look, those other videos have also been changed to have the same effect on them. So that's effects. There are tons and tons of options in there.